Hey everybody, welcome to the Adventist Hoops podcast. Today I have Kelvin Green, Andrews University men's assistant coach. Kelvin, welcome to the Adventist Hoops podcast.
Dustin, I really appreciate you having me, man. It's really good to join you today.
Well, Kelvin's got quite the story. Ended up playing Division I basketball. Didn't have to play on the Sabbath. We're going to get to all of that. But Kelvin, first off, I just wanted to find out a little bit about what your life was like earlier on. You grew up in Philadelphia. What was life like for you? What was your basketball journey like in elementary school?
Yeah, so like you said, I grew up in Philadelphia. So my basketball story starts with just playing with my brothers. I have an older brother, some older cousins, and a younger brother. And it starts off just playing in the neighborhood, playing on the block, playing with friends, playing with family that comes over. My dad got us a hoop at an early age. So me and my little brothers, we would play from probably from age 8 until until the court was just too small. We just would dunk on it too much. But yeah, so it started off just in the neighborhood, and I had a friend that was playing organized sports, and I didn't know about organized sports. So he invited me to come join his team, and when I went to play, I was pretty much dominating. I realized I was kind of bigger than a lot of the guys that were out there, and I was dominating. And I kind of realized that basketball was definitely my thing and sports was my thing, but I was actually making more friends because of it. So
Mm.
it wasn't just an isolated thing where I'm on a neighborhood anymore. It's like, yeah, like people really respect me. I'm getting a lot of friends now from it. So it kind of started off in that way.
So you're going through, and did you play on any clubs up through
Yeah,
eighth
so
grade,
I
or okay?
Yeah, so what happened? So I played a course for the church school that I went to from K to eighth. I went to Larchwood Academy, and I then start playing. I don't know if you're familiar with the Police Athletic League, POW. So that's a like a neighborhood league that the police organizations develop just to keep people off the street and play sports in general, just sports in general. So I'm playing there, I'm playing in different neighborhood leagues, but in that league is what kind of transitioned me to realizing how basketball could really change my life. So they actually offered me a scholarship to go to a prep school when I was in eighth grade. So this prep school was a kind of prestigious school. It was called Perkiomen Prep School. So it's in Pittsburgh, PA, about an hour from Philadelphia. And um, so, I told my parents about the opportunity and they were kind of excited, but my mom was kind of reluctant, of course, because it's a boarding school and I'm only 13 years old. So they kind of sold the opportunity. The police athletic league sold the opportunity to my parents about how it was a good thing for me. The education was really well. Um, Also that I could play sports at a high level, playing against really good competition. The school was pretty much known for baseball, and I was pretty good in baseball as well. But they thought I could pretty much help the basketball program as well. So um, kind of shortening this story, Sabbath came up. Um, so the Sabbath came up, and it was an issue, of course, with playing on the Sabbath.
I was
And
going to
I
ask. So
was
you guys grew up Adventist?
Adventist, yes. So
Yeah.
my family grew up Adventist, and it's kind of when I realized I was really different from a lot of people, because people were really questioning why I couldn't make certain games and do certain things, and I thought that my opportunity now going to that prep school was going to be done because I'm like, when they find out I can't play on Sabbath, high school level, especially good programs, they play on weekends a lot of times too, besides the weekdays. So I'm like, hope they allow me to go, but if they don't, they don't. So my parents had a discussion with that athletic director in the school, the headmaster, and told them that I wouldn't be able to participate on anything on the Sabbath hours, and they said it was fine.
How did you
So,
feel about it as a 13-year-old?
well, it was no, it was really normal for me,
Mm.
just growing up in that environment. But I realized not to the certain level as when I got older, but I realized I was just different. I didn't really like being different in that terms.
Yeah,
It was
especially at
a
that
lot of
age.
the major, yeah, I was playing in like the major city championships and the major city tournaments, and I had to miss the weekend game. So it was like a ongoing joke. It turned out to be for my friends, like, yo, all the team's gonna do is start scheduling the games for Sabbath on Saturday, so you ain't gonna be able to play. And that's how they gonna beat us. So, but it made me feel isolated, made me
Yeah.
definitely feel isolated.
So you end up going, and by the way, was your elementary school, was that an Adventist?
Yes,
Name was Academy,
yes,
so I was guessing it was Adventist. Okay. I didn't catch
yes.
the name of it. What is it?
Larchwood,
Larchwood. Okay. Okay.
Larchwood
Shout
SDA
out Larchwood.
school.
So
Yeah.
you do end up going to that prep school?
Yes, I end up going to the prep school. Definitely end up going to the prep school, and my experience was amazing. Right, it was
What position
amazing.
are you playing throughout high school?
So basketball, I am playing. I'm playing the positionless basketball at that point. I'm playing because I'm pretty big for high school, so I'm playing underneath. I'm playing on the wing, so I was playing all over the floor pretty much.
How tall were you like in your last couple
Six
years of high
five,
school?
6'5",
6'5".
six
Okay.
five. Yeah.
Okay. So mobile 6'5",
Yeah.
and they didn't make you play center.
No, no, I couldn't. Now we
Good.
actually had a 6'8" kid,
Okay.
and
Good.
we had a couple big guys, so
Good.
I could move
And
around.
and what was the Sabbath experience for you at that level in high
Oh
school?
man. So just right off the bat, right? It was ninth grade. Nobody kind of expected the success to happen so fast. So I'm not my ninth grade year, I was averaging 19 points a game varsity. Um, so my school, um, the playoffs, they had a Friday night game for the semifinals, and we got to the semifinals. My school has never went to the championship before. They never competed, never won a championship. So we got that far, and I missed the game. So then it became kind of a big deal to the school and also the league. Like, yeah, we can't allow this to happen. It really could turn their season around, and it's not fair. So they changed it. So we had from there on out, for my ninth grade year, we no longer had any Sabbath issues as far as the playoffs was concerned.
Hmm.
So it became a big deal. It happened. We ended up losing the championship, but nonetheless, that was the Sabbath event that kind of changed the perspective of the league.
In Pennsylvania, is there like a state association that everybody's gonna try to play for a state championship, or is it at the private school level, or is it just your league?
So when I was playing, it was just my league.
Hmm.
Um, Public schools weren't allowed to play states in Philly. It was just a private. It was everybody out of Philadelphia could compete for the state championship. But in that era, when I was growing up, it wasn't allowed. Especially for our league, it was just
Yeah.
it was just your league championship, and that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you're catching a lot of people's eyes as you go through high school. You're getting a lot of attention. What was your recruiting process like, and how did the Sabbath play into that?
Oh man, it was wild because I was getting a lot of notoriety, like you're saying, but like in multiple sports, right? Football, I actually had to stop playing because all the games in college and football were on Saturday. So I stopped playing my junior year, and I was getting recruited in football. Baseball,
What
same thing. I was
position?
getting tight end, tight end, and I was the linebacker.
Okay.
Yeah,
All linebacker.
so
Nice.
yeah, yep. So I just stopped playing. I made a decision to stop playing that in my junior year. Of course, everybody wasn't happy with that decision, but I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah.
In baseball, I was getting recruited pretty heavily because like I said, my team would win state championships. So I had some MLB players. One in particular, my roommate went to the MLB.
Wow.
So we were a pretty talented group over there too. And then basketball, I was getting recruited as well. And the basketball thing was the only thing I was really committed to because Philly, that's life. Basketball is life. So of course, all my friends are playing. I want to go as far as I can. And colleges were really reluctant. They would kind of ask around my AU coaches or athletic director or my high school coach and say, how committed is he to this Sabbath thing? Is it something where, his parents are making him do this, that, and the third?
Right.
So I began to realize that the level of commitment kind of dwindled because they realized I was not going to bend on the Sabbath issue. So
Hmm.
besides that, I actually broke my foot my senior year. So
Wow.
now I'm like, man, I
Yeah.
really kind of messed up my chances
Mm.
of getting a scholarship and playing at the next level because now I'm damaged goods and I'm
Mm.
not playing on Sabbath.
What
So yeah,
month
it was tough.
did you injure it?
It was so it's funny, man. It's funny, Dustin, because it was, I want to say it was in the spring. I know it was in the spring because I was supposed to pitch in the state championship game 2 days from when I broke my foot.
This is your
That's how
senior
I
year?
remember. This is my senior
Okay,
year.
so you finished your
Um,
season and
finished the season. Finished the
okay.
season. I still didn't have a solid offer.
Hmm.
I had some people that were still in decision.
Yeah,
Of course, I had the Division II scholarships offers, but I still wanted to play Division I basketball. So
sure.
that's where my mind was at. Like all the young kids.
By the way, did you talk to any of the Adventist schools or were they not really reaching out?
Nah, I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't even realize. I think it was Columbia CUC back then,
Hmm.
Columbia Union, and I didn't even know they had a program. Yeah,
I
Washington
got
Adventist now.
I got my YU shirt on here
Yeah.
for those just
So
listening.
right. So I didn't even realize they had a program back then.
And I
And
think
always heard
probably
about
not
it.
being at an Adventist academy, you probably just weren't on any of their radars anyways. You were
Right.
playing above the level that our Adventist schools may have been at. Although
Right.
CUC was Division II, probably
Right.
back then. Is that what you said?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were Division II.
And
And I
what year
think
did you graduate?
I graduated high school in 2002.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm not
Yeah, because
sure.
Sam Randolph had just come through CUC, the 7-footer. He was getting NBA
Oh wow.
attention. And yeah, I know at that time they were Division II.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
I didn't know that. I wasn't familiar with it, to be honest.
so yeah, you're having these conversations. People are a little leery just because they don't know if they're getting 100% of a player or if, less than 100% because of the Sabbath.
Right.
And it sounds like you were pretty resolute in your Sabbath conviction from the beginning.
Absolutely.
What
Absolutely.
advice would you have for an Adventist prospect that is looking or having conversations with Division I scouts with coaches, and they're asking about the Sabbath, and maybe in their mind these players are not really sure. Maybe they're not as resolute with you. What potential problems or pitfalls would you warn them against if they're not sure where they stand on the Sabbath?
So I'll put it like this. I've always believed that if you compromise what you believe in your truth, you do it for the remainder of your life and other things in your life. So I've always realized from having a relationship with Christ at a real young age. When I went away from school, I wasn't around my parents. So I start really taking my faith really serious. And I start watching God move in ways that were kind of supernatural. Certain things that weren't supposed to happen. It's happening for me. And it's to people's surprise and even my own. So I'm like, if God is going to stand for me, um, if I stand for God, I've always seen him stand for me too.
Mm.
So I've always give people advice that, stay firm on your beliefs and your conviction and your relationship with God. And whatever's supposed to happen will happen. You just got to have faith and believe it. Because I'm a witness of seeing God move in miraculous ways. Miraculous ways.
Wow. So eventually, someone takes a chance on you, even
Uh-huh.
understanding your agreement. So
Yes.
who is that? How does
Yes.
that happen?
So that happens. My AU coach calls me one day. I'm on the crutches. And he's like, listen, Coppin State College is Coppin State University now. It's a Division I MEAC in Baltimore, Maryland. They said they want to take you. They know your situation. Um, they'll maneuver around your situation, and they're not worried about your foot being broken. So as soon as my mom heard that, it was done. You already saw her. free school. And honestly, I didn't know anything about that university either
Mhm.
before I got there. I just knew a couple of my friends from Philly were getting recruited too. And I was like, yeah, it's people that I know that are there already. My AU trainer and coach that I really trusted, he vouched for the program. So I was like, you know what? Let's make it happen. So, it was a blessing. It was definitely a blessing because I went to school with crutches.
Wow.
So that's big, having a full scholarship, Division
Right.
One, and not in damaged goods.
So when did you get back on the floor?
So I took a medical red shirt my first year.
Okay.
And that following year, I got on the floor.
Okay. Did you feel any animosity from your teammates because you couldn't participate in activities, whether it was games or practices or whatever on Sabbath?
I didn't really feel it from the majority.
Hmm.
Of course, sometimes you can read certain people's body language and mannerisms, and you hear things like people would come back to me and tell me like, such and such said this about you, and it was never like that. I always had really good relationships with my teammates, so everything that I heard was secondhand information from somewhere else about somebody being disgruntled, somebody about thinking that it's favoritism, this, that, and the third. But the reality is that you know I put my work in on the floor, at the end of the day, and nobody could question my work ethic or anything I was doing as far as my commitment level to the program.
Did you feel like you had to do anything extra, just kind of, put any doubts aside, or you just stood by what you did when you were there?
Man, to be honest, I've always felt like I had to be extra, you
Hmm.
know. So that was just something innate. That was something that I had in me, a driving force, even from a young age. Because when I realized, I always would think people getting extra days of work. People playing on the weekends, on Sabbath, and that's a day of work that I'm missing to get better.
Hmm.
So when I'm out there, I'm always going to work the hardest, and I'm always going to be sharp, and I'm always going, to leave it
Yeah.
all on the floor.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
so
Had to
people felt
had
that.
to hurt your feelings a little bit when you hear some people,
Oh,
making little
yeah.
comments.
Well, I think it hurt more as time progressed because kind of like high school, I started getting a lot of attention again. Um, and once you get attention, people, you know how the society is. People, they're kind of like, envious of things.
Mm.
And then if they see like things like you don't have to go to shoot around and you still getting this amount of minutes, you missing this practice and you still come in and get this, it seems
Yeah.
like it's some type of favoritism. So it definitely can seem like that.
Do you feel like your Sabbath conviction in any way negatively affected, say, like your playing time or anything tangible basketball related?
Oh, absolutely. Throughout my life. Not high school so much because my coach was really cool and it really didn't affect me, but college definitely. To the point, which is kind of further in the story that I just was told flat out, your role is going to get lessened
Mm.
because you caused X, Y, and Z to happen. So there's different parts of my story, basketball story that shows that's blatant.
Hmm.
And it's just it makes you tougher. Like you develop thicker skin, and it's a mental toughness, and you kind of have to just rely on God because it was times that I just felt like I was on an island, nobody could understand. You
Mm.
know, because a lot of people when they reach certain level of success or skill set, they'll compromise, so they don't have to deal with these type of problems. But when you don't, it's not really many people that can identify with what you're going through and the
Mm.
pressure that, I used to have pastors calling my room telling me, you know, do you need a letter from your preacher? To start giving me theology lessons and doctrinal lessons about how the Sabbath don't count for basketball. So, you feel that pressure absolutely.
Mm. What did you do on Sabbath on away trips?
Well, at first I would not go to the game, and then it was a liability issue for school. So I would just sit on the bench. I would sit on the bench and I would kind of just zone out.
Yeah.
Like if you ever seen like any of the games, you just see me just not even paying attention, like because I had to be there, but I wasn't like my mind was somewhere else.
Mm,
Yeah, so I would be there. I wouldn't suit up, but I would be at the facilities.
mm.
Yeah.
And how many years did you play at Copper State?
So at Coppin I played
Coppin. I'm sorry. I heard copper, but it's Coppin. Coppin.
yeah,
Okay.
Coppin. Yeah, yeah. So I only played what I played. I played a year and a half, right? I played a year and a half because like I said, the first year end up going like all league, all like the all rookie team, right? All freshman team, and I probably should have got the player of the year, but because of Sabbath, some things that I missed wouldn't allow me to do so. But then it transitioned to start getting national attention, right? When we went to the tournament, uh, I had got a phone call from one of I guess the PR people from the school, and they said, you have an interview coming up, and this is at our conference tournament. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, what time? They're like early in the morning. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I just wake up, I don't even brush my hair, I had crust in my eyes. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning and I got a rip hoodie on. And then when I get into the car, it's a valet driver. He picks me up. He's like, "You know where you going?" I'm like, "Nah." He's like, "Yeah, this is it's an interview, it's a satellite interview." I'm like, "All right, cool. What for?" Like ESPN. I'm like, "ESPN." So he's like, "Yeah, they want to sit and talk with you for a show called Cold Pizza." And I'm like, "Okay." So that was the show before First Take for ESPN. So in that interview, they asked me about this question, similar questions you asked me right now. What does it feel like having this success, and how do people treat you knowing that you can't play some of the games? And it just started asking me all these questions. So I realized it was an opportunity to talk about my faith, but people were still watching me. I was top 10 in the nation in threes that year. I didn't even know that stat.
Wow.
So it was a story that gravitated the attention of the masses pretty much. And it was really good, man. It was surreal though. But after that experience, having that interview, and when I came back, people were it got really funny after that. It got really funny after that for um, some teammates, not everybody. I had a great good group of guys, but then the coaching staff too. It got really funny after those situations and the attention I started getting.
Would you still have done the interview?
Yeah, but I would have been prepared for it. I'd have probably got a haircut. Back then
That
I
is
had
not really
hair.
fair for them to spring that on you. National TV
Right.
interview. Yeah.
Yeah. So man, how sometimes you just got to be ready for the moment, and even if you're not, you just pray God to just take over and allow things to happen. So I wasn't ready for the moment, but I realized it really had a lot of impact on people, people I didn't even know. Start getting phone calls from different places and venues and different people just saying they were inspired by it, this, that, and the third. So it had legs of its own. And sometimes when you prepare, you start taking credit for things. Like, yeah, it's because what I did, what I said, and you start feeling yourself a little bit. So I'm kind of glad that it happened the way it happened because it was just genuine. It was just all genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you, by the way, do you have a clip of that still?
Man, I probably do
Look,
somewhere. My
see if
parents
you can
probably have it.
find it because it would be
Yeah.
great to share that.
Yeah, I definitely. And I actually try to reach out to ESPN, and they said they don't give out unless you're a staff member or something like that. They said they don't
Okay.
give out the archive things.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere on somebody's VHS.
VHS. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, do your
Yes.
best. See if you can find that for us because it'd be fun to see
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
You're a coach now. As a
Yeah.
coach, do you think that it is fair for someone not to get as much playing time if they're not at all the activities as you were at times?
Well, yeah. See, now looking at that as a coach, I think it's situational, right? Um, in my situation, I think, yeah, it wouldn't be fair to the players that are there. But another way of looking at it is, do I hurt the team by taking away that person's talent too? So say they're not there, but they're not there for good reasons, right? The team is way better off when that person is there. So me saying, okay, I think it's ways around it to make it still work. So the coach will always tell me, like, even if I don't start you, just know you always finishing. So that's sometimes ways to subtly do things to make it work for everybody. So to answer the question, I think it's all based on the situation and why you may not be there at the time and available.
It's one of the toughest things as a coach, trying to be consistent, right? And trying to create
Right,
a culture where everybody's accountable and hey, like you didn't show up to practice, so you're not starting or you're not playing the next game. But what if it's the best player and he was late
right,
to practice? Is he gonna start or not start the next day? And
right.
especially at that level, Division One,
Mhm.
NCAA, I
Yeah,
mean, the stakes are pretty high. So,
yeah.
yeah,
It's a business. It's a
yeah,
business. I learned.
right.
I mean, just to give you a little bit, when I was telling you a little earlier when we had our end of the year meetings. The coach told me, listen, I'm gonna have to kind of pull back your role. You caused the school to lose $250,000 or something. He told me. Yeah,
What?
yeah. So yeah, so in those meetings, I realized I was like, yeah, this is a business. This is a business. So like I said, it happened firsthand to me
How did you cause the university to lose 250,000?
because I didn't play the championship game.
Oh,
Championship game was on Sabbath to get to the NCAA tournament.
wow.
Yeah,
That's just speculation, that figure, I assume, but still, I'm sure it's a lot of money.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, last question, just about kind of Sabbath and the college experience and everything. What advice do you have for Adventist players that are out there right now that are in their own recruiting process and they're talking to coaches and they're having those conversations, um, and maybe they're a little bit unsure of how they should handle the Sabbath?
Right. Um, I want to be real with the young people. I understand. I understand where they're coming from. I understand being in that valley of decision. But I say, like I said before, you have to stand firm to your convictions, right? This basketball thing is something that was made up. It- it's not bigger than life. Your salvation, your commitment, your loyalty, your obedience. Those things are eternal, right? So those are the things that really make the difference in all your principles and everything that you do in your life. So I feel like when you compromise for something that's just, it has a window and a short window, um, then you might have some I'm trying to figure out the word I'm trying to use, but a lot of people sometimes they are worse off because they weren't committed. They're worse off. They
Well, you
they
feel terrible about
always
yourself, right? I mean, what I've told
right,
people is that you have to make the decision now. Make the
right,
decision now, one way or the other. If Sabbath is not as important to you as maybe you thought it was growing up, maybe you've gotten to the point where it's just not as important. If you make that decision now, you're not going to feel as bad later as if you say, "Hey, I'm going to see how it works out, and hopefully they won't have many games on Sabbath, or hopefully it just won't come up." And then you're going to have pressure from people telling you like, "Can you play? You can play this one game, right?" And
right,
then to sort of cave into that at that point, you're probably going to feel a lot worse than you would have otherwise. So just make that decision now before you even get into that recruiting process, and then everybody knows you have accountability for it, right? Because you've been telling everybody the same thing. I'm not going to
right,
play on Sabbath, or it's just a non-issue because you've decided you are going to play. But staying true to your convictions and to your point of what is the most important things in life. Um,
yeah,
and you're an example of someone that was able to do it and not bend on what you
right.
believe.
right. And I feel like it has a residual effect too. I feel like you don't realize when you compromise to certain things, it's way easier to do it the next time and the next time. So when you finish playing basketball, there's a job. When you finish playing basketball, there's something else that occurs. You say, I could do it. The Lord will understand. He's gave me this ability. People always tell me, the Lord gave you all this skill and talent. People will be getting mad. They say, man, I would never waste it, and you start justifying your bad decisions.
What
Yeah.
encouragement would you have for those Adventist players that maybe currently or have in the past decided to go ahead and just play on Sabbath? What are your thoughts?
I don't want to be disrespectful. I just feel like I feel they made a decision. I understand the decision, but I feel like it probably was disingenuous, for some people. Um, I feel like some people were kind of peer pressured into certain things, and you kind of took the glamour, the glitz and glamour over the godliness type of thing. And I don't want to cast judgment on people, but because I
Yeah,
know how tough it is. But
yeah.
it's a decision I think some people, they wish they've taken back. They've taken back.
So you play a year and a half at Coppin State, and then do you
Mhm.
play again somewhere else after that, or are you
Yeah,
done?
I go to a Division II school in called Cal PA, California University of Pennsylvania, and I did that on purpose. It's near Pittsburgh. Um, so I just wanted to get away from everybody and anybody's expectations and any spotlight. I just wanted to go somewhere in the cut and just play basketball and have fun. But same situations pop up when you really are impactful. In something like basketball, you always going to deal with a lot of pressure, especially if you're an Adventist, because now you're almost playing with people's livelihoods to a certain aspect. It's like this is a business. If you're not
D-
there, you're hurting us.
Did you feel any amount of guilt or heaviness from all that pressure from all these different people they're all sort of accommodating you?
Yeah, yeah. So I was really arrogant in my thoughts. I was just like, listen, you guys. At that point, I'm like, you guys are getting a service. You know what I mean? I'm helping you guys win.
Okay,
So it's give and take for both of us.
right, right,
Yeah, because so I mean that was my mindset back then anyway.
yeah. What was life like for you after your playing career was over?
It was really tough. I think on one end of it, see my friends, right? They are a lot. My best friend's an NBA player, right? A lot of the people that were my contemporaries, the people that I played with in Philadelphia, are either high level overseas guys or NBA guys. That's who I grew up with, right? So seeing them flourish and have these careers playing basketball and then having these careers post basketball and coaching and doing all these different things, front offices and things like that. It's always in the back of my mind, like, man, like these are all my spots. Like now I'm struggling kind of like trying to figure out what I want to do. And I had it on the plate for me, in these different venues in basketball and sports. So it was kind of tough.
Not to interrupt, but practically speaking, did you feel that there was a path for you after basketball at the Division I level as an Adventist?
Well, my
Just as far
trainers
as the
used to always,
Sabbath, you know?
yeah, I thought like people always tell me like, listen, man, your talent is undeniable. Like, cause listen, I'm in the gym with, I was working out with the Sixers, at one point in the summer times, and I was competing at a high level with these NBA guys. And so I always would have agents even that say, listen, I understand what you're doing. And I think there might be somebody that take a shot on you just like they did in college. So I always had it in my mind. So I'm still working out, I'm still playing. And I'm thinking like somebody's going to allow it. Maybe I have to go to the Middle East. I don't know, but somebody's going to be okay with that. So yeah, so I was still pursuing
Okay.
after college. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, at some point there's going to be someone that is that good, that's good enough to be able to play somewhere and have
Right,
Sabbath accommodations professionally. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
right,
So
right,
you
right.
did you get into coaching or anything, or how were you staying involved with basketball in any way, or no?
No, no, I wasn't, man. I was working with kids. I mean, I coached it's an alternative school I was working at. I was like a dean, and I stayed connected with kids that way. And just helping kids, that and that level is kids, keeping kids out of jail. That's pretty really tough environment. And I was coaching at the team there, but it wasn't really official league. It was kind
Yeah,
of like
yeah,
we just played non-league, get a game here and there. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I wasn't doing anything like coaching AAU or anything like that.
So at what point did you did God speak to you and kind of change the course of your trajectory as far as career wise?
So I was always really active in church. I was first elder at my church for a couple years, and it was just many people coming up to me and telling me, "Listen, I think you should try to take this next step." Have you been interested in looking at pastoral ministry or anything like that? And I was always reluctant. I always thought, I was comfortable in my environment. So, but when it all came to me at once, different people that didn't know each other. I was like, well, maybe this is the way God is kind of speaking to me through other people right now. So once that happened, I got a crazy dream one day, and I was like, okay, Lord, I get it. Like you're telling me to move. So yeah, once that happened, and then I was like, I can't afford to do this. So I talked to my conference, and my conference, they put me on a scholarship and a stipend, a living stipend. So I was like, all right, well, Lord, you're definitely telling me this is the way you want me to move. So I can't commit a Jonah right now. I gotta be obedient. So I'm
Wow.
here. Yeah.
And so now Kelvin is a, year in at seminary school,
Yeah.
and I hadn't heard of the second, it's called second track.
Yeah. Second track or second career. That's how they label it. Second track.
So he'll be there for the next 3 years, so probably 3.5, 4 years total.
Hopefully
And
three.
and um, he is now assisting at Andrews University. So
Yeah.
I gotta think that after so many years of being away from competitive basketball, that you have to be just chomping at the bit and super excited to get out there with these guys.
Absolutely. I took a year just to observe, and I realized Andrews has a lot of potential. Got a great facility, great athletic director, got a great new head coach that just came, and I see the potential. So yeah, you know me, I'm just trying to balance it off because I don't want to get into my old competitive ways and go too hard. But yeah, I'm really excited.
What are you looking forward to most?
I'm looking forward to kids getting better. Because I realize basketball has a way of just making you a better person. When you realize your potential, when you realize untapped potential, and you realize, you could be a better person from the game because it throws life lessons at you every day, whether you're at practice or whether you're in the game, it's life lessons involved. So I'm always interested in watching the growth of the young men from basketball.
Have you been able to meet? I mean, you've probably met some of the players since you've been there for a year, just watching the team from the stands. But have you been able to work with any of the players since you've stepped into your new role, or has everybody been gone for the summer?
Oh man. What time is it now? About 5 hours from now, we have a workout scheduled. So I'm already on the group chats talking to these guys, just trying to get them familiar with who I am and just run them through drills and skill training and things like that. So yeah, we already hit the ground running. We behind as far as I'm concerned. So we're working every day to get better, every day.
So you're doing some skill development. What else do you see as your role this year?
Like I told the coach, I'm not familiar with being on this side um, of the court, right? So he's kind of like slow walking me through the scouting reports. I know of all these things, but I haven't done these things, right?
Yeah.
So breaking down film and doing scouting reports, and the player development part, the leadership part, those things come natural, right? But the other components, those are the things that I'm growing
So
in.
much different than playing, like you want to just get
Oh
out
my
there and do it
goodness.
yourself, but how can you best teach something? How can you best frame this skill or you know, this mindset, in a way that because you have no direct physical way to affect the
Absolutely.
outcome. Yeah, you got to lead people in
Absolutely.
that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, for people who maybe aren't familiar with Andrews University basketball, where has the program been, at least this last year, from what you can tell? And what would you say are the goals that you would like to see the team hit this coming year?
Yeah, so from what I understand about Andrews, probably a decade ago, is they had the high mountain years where they were playing, winning games and things like that nature. As far as me being here, my experience, the program has dropped off tremendously. So it's room for a lot of growth, and we got the pieces in place to bring us back into that mountaintop experience. So yeah, I think Andrews is a place that's up and coming. We starting to get more involved, the staff and administration more involved with the program, and we got the right minds involved. So we just trying to build a culture right now. So I mean, I encourage if anybody's looking for a program, to stamp your name on the culture. This is the place to come. You're
Yeah,
gonna
I mean, if
learn.
if there's an Adventist kid out there that's thinking, hey, and I should say whether it's men or women, because we had Kaya Williams on. She was the first person I had on the
Oh,
Adventist News
nice.
podcast last year, and so she's got a year under her belt. So I know that the programs are trying to turn a corner here, and it is exciting to be a part of something. If there's some kids out there that are looking, hey, I want to play somewhere next year or a couple of years, why should they come to Andrews?
Oh, it's simple. You want to get better. Um, you want to reach your potential. You want to be in a great environment where people really care about you, not just your skill set, but your soul. You want to be here. This is a great place, great learning environment, great campus. It's everything that you need. Access to gyms, beautiful weight room. It's listen, it's a dream. If I knew about it and if it was good competition, I probably would have came out here too.
Mm. Well, hey, Kelvin, I really appreciate you sharing your story. Thank you for your transparency and being willing to kind of go through, what your experience was like with the Sabbath. I think your advice to Adventist prospects that are out there right now is very valuable. I know that there will be people out there that listen to this, whether it's right now or in the next year or two down the road, and be thankful for your lived experience and for your advice. So, yeah, appreciate you and thank you for coming on and for telling us a little bit about Andrews basketball. And yeah, we'll be rooting
Mhm.
for you here this next year.
And I just want to say thank you, man. I appreciate what you're doing for the Adventist community too, man. So yeah, shout out to you. Appreciate you.
All right, thanks, Kelvin.